Honey, bonjour. I would like to welcome the youth and thank them for participating as advisors to this project and adding their voice. The goal of the Cannabis Project is to design and create tools that reflect Indigenous perspectives and to create resources for teachers and parents so that they can have a comfortable conversation with the youth about cannabis and vaping, as well as offer ideas and information on how we can use culture and traditional knowledge as harm reduction and prevention methods to support youth. It's our hope that we are able to, by providing these resources and training and a safe space, it will open the doors so that teachers and parents and youth can have an open and honest conversation about and a dialogue about why youth use cannabis and how we as counselors and teachers and parents can continue to work with them to support their well-being. I hope that everyone enjoys the resources, and I look forward to hearing from all of the youth. Miigwetch.
So I wanted to do this because my parents were active smokers and, denied anything wrong with it. I started smoking at a really young age, and I noticed in myself that I had some behaviors that I needed to deal with. And I'd like to be able to help kids in a later generation because pretty much anybody would smoke, whoever had it. And that's not okay, especially now with what's going on. So I definitely wanted to be a part of this and learn other people's perspectives. So super excited for that.
Bonjour, ok, my magazine is Nakash Chichakdona. My GST name Willard Fine. Retired, 36 years, traditional mental health worker. Married 51 years, raised 4 children, got 16 grandkids and 2 great. And things get any better, I'm going to start complaining. I had 3 cancers, 5 infections, 2 hips replaced. Other than that, I feel great. They call that the golden years. And I'm excited about this project. I'm glad my nephew there asked me to sit in tonight because I'm always willing to help. I find when you don't scare and you talk the truth, that's when people work the hardest. And I hope that's what we do tonight because our kids have to be told what to expect, how to expect, and where to expect. Right now we have a big problem with the drugs in our city. And there's nobody going to clean that up but our next generation, our children.
Hi. Yeah. So what brought me here is, I get all the emails from Bunny. She's our secondary school liaison worker. So that's what brought me here. On my reserve, I believe there's quite a few dispensaries. I know most of the owners. So it's not something that's unfamiliar to me. I grew up with being around cannabis and all the what would you call it? The pressures of it in school and things like that. And now I'm kind of seeing it with the younger generation as my son just turned 12 and he's seeing that it's legal now. It's not this bad thing anymore. And I'm already getting questions and it's just kind of so it was nice to see this kind of pop up to be able to not only as a parent, but as a community member is learn about these things and kind of navigate because it's all new, right? We just legalized it last year or two. And so everything's kind of new. So dealing with a 12-year-old where he thinks he's 18 is a little much, but it's good to learn all these things. And then seeing the side of the cannabis shop owners, seeing their side of things seeing the things the community is dealing with because of these things. I know back in my hometown, there's a really bad drug problem right now. And I believe it was maybe a week or two ago where they thought they had bought weed and it was laced and kids were overdosing. And it's just all about that education, right? Especially with my son now almost going into high school. He's in middle school now down in Toronto. But yeah, it was just really interesting for me to be able to learn about that. And my partner is an avid smoker. I don't smoke, but I could see the benefits for him and where it's different for me. So it was really cool and super interesting to be able to be a part of this. So I'm really excited.
I got into this project because like a lot of my friends I see are like using like not only marijuana but also vaping, and like even like some childhood friends, like I could see like obviously they've matured, but I could see like a clear difference on them, how they were before using and then after using. And then especially like some like kids like even in my community like are like getting into like really like buying it off the street and like getting into like really bad stuff, and it's just worrying to me. So I'd want to be like, I like this project because I want to be like a part of educating other youth and just like making sure they know like the dangers of like not only using but also like selling and just like all of it. I think it's a really good opportunity because I am like worried about like my peers and like what they're getting into, and especially with the legalization. I see that a lot of like even like young, like as like young as 12 are like thinking that it's like completely fine because it's legal, when they don't really know the dangers of like what they're really getting into. Yeah, and I'd like to be like a good, like, because I'm like youth, I'm like 16, so I think it's a good, like I have a good perspective because I can see it like in like all around me, like friends and stuff like that.
Do you have any examples of your friends' behaviors before and after using?
Well, I saw like one of my friends, like she can't eat unless she smokes beforehand, like she just can't. And then like getting more depressed and like getting anxious, like just like not being able to function without using beforehand, like eating, going places. And it's really sad to see like her like acting, like not being able to even eat like before using.
Like, I thought it'd be interesting to do this because, I mean, I've done it all. I've been on all sides of it. Like, this is in high school or so. I've smoked it, I've sold it, I've grew it. And like everyone's saying, weed was weed back then. Like, you knew what you were smoking, and like the THC level was way down. And along came those gummies and Skittles and Doritos, as he said. And yeah, though that's a bad experience. You could definitely overindulge very quickly with those things. It could, I don't know, it makes me paranoid now at this point. I smoke it here and there, but I mean, like, that's just small amounts. But it's like those edibles, like that's something else. That's like a whole different breed of, that doesn't even feel like weed anymore at that point.
I haven't had any like personal experience with weed or any edibles, but I've went to other people's houses that I've collaborated with, who've had like their own, like they've shared their own experiences with like edibles, and I've seen it like, and they say that like they get really paranoid and stuff like that. But like edibles are really like strong versus actually like smoking it, right? And he says he doesn't like edibles because it's, you know, gives him paranoid, or he's like very like anxious. But when he's like actually smoking weed, he's like very like self-centered, and he's able to kind of focus on like whatever's going on. So that's just like kind of like my own knowledge of it.
Yeah, so going off of what he had asked with like you were saying again, like with all these edibles and candies and it basically being hidden and everything, I mean, you know, it's there, but not knowing sometimes the percentages, like a dispensary I went to had it in slushies. And so it just blows my mind, because it's like, well, for me, I can't, like, I get paranoid, I get anxious, I can't do it. But like, even, and like off of, I forget their name, but what they were saying, like the grandma didn't know about the Red Bull. It's like, now they're coming in like slushies and things. And I've seen where people have taken it and not known. And it's scary. If you don't know what's going on, you don't know what you've taken, you don't know what milligram it is. And it's just, it's scary. It really is. And yeah, so that was my experience. I don't indulge in it at all. And if I do, I'm super anxious and I don't like it. So
yeah, exactly. Like, that's one of those things we recommend people keep their stuff in like a safe or something like that. But if someone comes by and grabs a Dorito while you're eating them, and you know what I mean, they don't see the bag, then that's a really good example.
Yeah, and they don't have the, like, I'm sure if you're not going to look and stare at a Dorito bag, you're thinking they're chips, or you're thinking it's a slushie, and you take a drink, right? It's like, and then it's like, oh, well, there was this in it. And it's scary.
So even like some kind of warning would be.
Yeah. And they make them so colorful, right? Like so enticing to people. And it's like you were saying, like Skittles and things like that. That's enticing to kids. The kids love candy, that kids love chips and things like that. And it's just like, so if I'm indulging in this as an adult and my child is there and I take my eye off it, you know, like, it's just scary, because it's not going to have a warning label that says this is weed, or, you know, this is whatever. And it's very nerve-wracking. Like,
so me in general, I never really took edibles, but I've had a friend, like, you know, he could smoke like a chimney, you know, it doesn't affect him, but like once he like eats the edibles, like it just like paralyzes him. And like it's scary, because I see this guy, like he could smoke all day, and then once he eats the edibles, you know, it's like he has no self-control. He just sits there and he's like a zombie. And I'm like, and like, you know, like that kind of made me like be like, oh, like I don't want to try edibles, like, you know, I'm gonna be like that, like it's not fun, because like this guy's a heavy smoker, and like, you know, if you just eat the edibles, it's totally different, you know, like it's crazy what they have nowadays. But I just think if someone's going to do it, they should just stay to like smoking.
Yeah, talking about edibles, I find percentages aren't really controlled with on-reserve dispensaries. So you could end up getting 120 milligram edibles versus going to a normal government dispensary where they only offer 2.5 milligram edibles. So when you're taking a much higher milligram edible, you're tending to paralyze your body and be uncontrollable of it. And just imagine what that do to a little kid, having that offered at those dispensaries, right?
So out of all the people that I've like hung around with that do smoke weed or do any edibles, like they've always asked like, oh, do you want some? And I'll just kindly pass off, and you know, they'll do their own thing. But I choose not to smoke or do any edibles because I've seen like how other people were influenced and kind of where they come from. And like I kind of choose not to, especially for my own like mental health and whatnot. That's just kind of how, like, in my experience of it.
I think that they are really beneficial, but it's also like when they come in like packages that look like candy or chips, it's kind of scary once you think about like youth, because like if you're not really looking at it, you can just pick it up and have a bunch of them, and then you're like, oh no, like be like scared and worried about it. And especially for like little kids, if they get a hold of it, that would be really scary.
So that definitely happened to me once. I was with someone and they gave me a piece of candy but didn't tell me what it was. So I ate it and I was like, okay, like whatever, it's not a big deal. I felt like I was having a heart attack. So I would never do that again. Never.
The only place that I know that's drug free is the moon. it's out there, and you gotta hang out with them. You know, you can't lock yourself in the house.
Yeah.
Being a young man raised on the reserve, I went out there. I hung out with the people that were smoking, but I chose not to. I mean, it's one's choice.
Yeah.
And you know, when you make that choice, I've always got credit for it.
Mm-hmm.
Today, I just got done being counselor. Well, I'm still counseling, 36 years, and I'm passing that experience on to people who are having trouble making that choice. Yeah. You got to be your own judge.
It's kind of hard to explain because I haven't really distanced myself from any of the friends that I do use. We kind of like drifted apart over the years. And I wouldn't necessarily, I'm trying to distance myself from them. It's just hard, like, just being constantly like seeing them using it. It's not necessarily peer pressure, but it gets to the point where it's like, oh, they're doing it. Like, I wonder what it feels like. But then I'm like trying to like rationalize myself and being like, okay, well, I know the dangers of it. I know that like my family has history of addictions. And like there is a chance like that it could branch off to other things. And I'm just like, I try to help them as best as I can, but it gets to the point where it's like, you can't really tell them to stop if they don't want to, because they're their own person. Like was said, like they're their own boss. They get to choose what they're going to do, and I get to choose what I'm going to do. And yeah, I think I kind of want to like stay out of it. Like if they need my help, I'll be there, but they chose their path and I'm choosing mine.
No, I usually stick with them. They do their own thing. Like, they don't really ask for help or anything. Like maybe if I do need to get up and get some water or like anything for them, I'll do my usual friendly stuff, right? But they don't need me to look out for them. And like I said, I do my own thing and they do theirs. So if they do need anything, I will help them out. But I usually, they don't really need to rely on me.
I guess losing disinterest in like your hobbies and being like disconnected with yourself and losing friends and other people and stuff like that.
I think that like when a youth, like when their brain's not fully developed, it could affect like the way they think and like on their mental health. Yeah, I have like a bunch of like younger cousins who smoke, and like I'm like, hey, like you shouldn't be doing that. You know, it's gonna affect you in the long run.
I think it can really affect your mental like well-being, like at a young age. Like my brother started smoking when he was like really young, and like he can almost like not really function without it. So it's just like it really affects your future self. I don't know the actual risks, but I think you just got to watch out for your mental health and try not to overuse it at a young age.
I think the biggest challenge is right at home for a lot of our youth. Like mom and dad do drugs, mom and dad drink. Sometimes they're home just babysitting, you know. I think we got to get them out more and get them doing things in the community.
So I definitely think a big issue is youth sometimes have a hard time with coping with growing up, life choices, peer pressures and stuff like that. I feel like there definitely needs to be more resources to talk about that kind of stuff, so maybe they won't turn to it as easy, or being educated about it a little bit more before getting to that point. I understand that life happens, but it's a little bit easier when you have like some sort of other coping mechanisms instead of turning right to that.
The lack of prevention materials and having like a reaction to that other side is really having a huge impact on youth at risk. we had more prevention, I think, and we had more strong role models that were doing those kinds of things, doing that help and having it like in your face, just like the smoke shops are in our face, it would create a counterbalance.
Like even like on social media, like you see these 12-year-olds with like their vape pens and like smoking and like eating edibles. It just seems like it shouldn't be something so normalized when it is. It's just kind of sad to see like all these kids think it's okay because their friend and then their mom is like okay with it, and like it's become normalized, which is really sad, and it like makes kids think it's okay.
One thing I want you to remember, we have medicine people on our First Nation who go out and pick the medicine properly. You gotta put tobacco down. You ask the medicine why you're taking it. We have medicine people, and I hope those ones that are selling now aren't calling themselves medicine people, because they're not. That's not even our medicine. That's Colombia, South America. That's where that medicine came from. I never heard anybody go out and say thank you or put tobacco or ask for it. I don't think it's going to work.
Okay, so I think I would want elders to understand about youth cannabis use is that I feel like a lot of them feel like a lot of elders would view it as like being rebellious, when a lot of the times like youth cannabis use stems from like hardships in their life. So I feel like I'd want them to understand that it's not just like a lot of it is not just because I want to like be rebellious, is that they're using it as like a coping mechanism.
Parents should understand that it's very harmful for a child at a young age if there's no medical benefits for it or any reason for it to be taken.
Basically, it'd be good for parents to like explain to their kids the benefits that could happen from it and like the difference between using it properly and abusing it.
That they should discuss it more with their kids so they could learn like directly from them, especially if they are using it. Like instead of like not telling them that they are, it'd probably like better to tell them that they are. Like the parents that are using it tell their kids that they are instead of like hiding it.
Like make sure they your kids aren't influenced like in a very bad way from it, like if it's beneficial or not.
Being a counselor for the past 36 years, I've learned a lot. And one of the things that I found with our young people is when you can identify who they are, it really helps. Like they should have their spirit name, their colors, and then give them that medicine bag to look after. And I'll tell you, that young boy I was talking about with the braid, he does fires. He's a pipe carrier today, and he's only 14.
Bring them on walks, get them out, get them to do other stuff other than smoke cannabis and cut back on it. Get them to do other stuff that they enjoy instead.
Being from a reserve and then coming to an urban city, there's huge differences. So I think for like helping to cut back on cannabis use on a reserve would definitely be helping with the traditional teachings, reaching out to an elder if that's something that they're interested in. Also getting involved in sports. And I know we have a lot of programming on the res most of the time, just without COVID being here, but getting them involved and getting them to find new things that'll replace that and give them the support that they need. I always think the best thing is peer support and having people who have been there and supporting them through it.
I'd like help them. I'd help them get distracted by bringing them to different cultural activities, like attending ceremonies and powwows and doing different things to help their mind focus on other things.
Honestly, I think like in the reserve settings, I think like hanging out with like a good crowd, like you know, the older kids that like, you know, there's good and there's bad, right? So like you want to hang out with the ones that will like make you do better, like working out, and you know, like also going to see elders, and yeah, basically what the others said. It's just, you know, I think that'd be great.
So like going to a medicine man, learning about medicines and stuff, and like other ways to cope with whatever you have going on, like learn about different traditional medicines and like go to ceremonies and stuff like that.
Well, like I said, with social media, I think that's something that would be easy to spread because social media, like something could spread like wildfire. I think that like pamphlets and stuff like that are helpful, but I don't really know too many people that would like pick up and read a pamphlet, especially at my age. So I think something like on social media that could be easy to like, oh, just send it to your friend, or like it'd be easy to send it to a wide range of like people to get them to like understand. And I think what other people said with role models, I think that if a lot of people had like a relatable role model to be like, okay, well, they didn't smoke and they didn't do whatever, and they've gone to that point, or like with coping, like they had hardships but they got through without like drugs and like vaping and stuff like that. If they saw that, then they'd be like, okay, well, I can get through it too if they did.
I would honestly say to find habits that you enjoy to keep yourself busy that don't involve just being in your house. Like, for example, hiking, going to the mall, or going to do this. Keep yourself busy outside of just sitting at your house. Because if you sit at your house, you're just going to think about it and you're just going to want to smoke all the time. And another thing is definitely like the people you hang out with. Myself, when I quit for a long time, I had to like kind of distance myself from my friends for a little bit, but they understood and supported me. And if they don't, they're not your real friends.
I think I would be like I am about a lot of things, really balanced when it comes. There's both negative and positive. So I wouldn't be judgmental on that person. I wouldn't be judging that person if they did, but I would tell them how much I cared about them. Maybe try to give them some kind of cope to replace that.
I think also too, like for me growing up, like I've been in recovery now for 3 years. I think it, like you said, when you're younger, you're not going to pick up a pamphlet. You're not going to necessarily attend like sessions about it and things like that. I really think like a good thing would be peer support, is having, like she was saying, someone who's, and not even to say that who's never smoked or who's never done anything. It's like, no, even the ones who have done it and come out of it. And, you know, like I've been a part of a group where like recovering addicts, and it's to be able to relate to the people and to be able to talk to someone who's been there and been through it, and like, well, how did you do it? And some things don't work for this person. Some things may work for the next person. It's all about that networking and having that peer support. And like, to be honest, like I would have never picked up a pamphlet. Even today, I'm not much of a reader, you know, like some people just, you have to have different options for different people, because especially nowadays, everybody learns differently. Everybody like sees things differently. Like I know people with ADHD who wouldn't sit down and read, who would rather sit there and talk to someone, or, you know, like, and even things like this, like meetings like this, or having outreach, like peer support, things like that, I think would be really awesome.
Like take these youth and let them build their sweat lodge. Don't bring them to the lodge. Let them build their own. Make a fire. Don't bring them to a fire. Let them build their own fire. And I'll tell you something, they will feel a lot better about themselves when they do these things.